Trying to keep up with you. You're my spicy margarita, babe. Burn my tongue, make me shake. Mix it up or give it to me straight. Turn me on, make me say. Shy, 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 shy. I just can't stop. You're the only one I want. You're my spicy margarita, baby. Burn my tongue, make me say. Morning, sex me in the morning. Put on a performance. I mean, I just had to do a little spicy margarita. Um, I heard it early this morning. Don't ask me why. Somehow I heard it early this morning, and it has stuck with me. I guess at the gym, it must have been on in the background or something, and it got into my subconscious because all of a sudden I was like, why is this in my head? I'm sure that has happened to many of you before. So, good morning. Welcome. Yes, it's just John. Just John. Uh, Coming at you this morning. Um, Thank you all for the text messages and DMs and all that good stuff. Jackye is doing well. Hoping that she is back with us next week. She needed to take a little time to handle a thing or two. And so the plan, the hope is that she will be back next week, and I'll let her fill you in on all the things. The one thing, though, that she told me to make sure everyone knows is that she is not gone because she is doing another season of The Amazing Race. That is not why she isn't here last week or this week. It's not happening. She is not doing a reality show. However, I have asked her to apply for the Golden Bachelorette. And even her significant other was fine with it. She's the one who's the holdup. So, I mean, Todd and I are like, go do it. It's fine. We can say that your marriage is in trouble and you're seeking another opportunity. She gave us thumbs down on that. So, good morning. Oh, great. I'm so glad you are here. So glad you are here. And Dr. V, good morning. Good to see a lot of you joining in this morning. We've got a lot to cover. and as is the norm, this thing moves quickly. So we will make the most of this 60 minutes. Football. That's what I got to start with. Football. We got Eagles Dallas tonight. I mean, huge game tonight. Big, like, kind of first week, big game, huge rivalry. It's fun. Now, I don't know that everybody is football aficionado, but it's a big deal, right? For those who are either avid fans of watching, or maybe even more so, those of you who are really, really invested in the fantasy football end of things. And I don't know how many fantasy football folks are out there, chat away. I'm not sure if that is as big of a deal as it is kind of in my neck of the woods, where everyone is at least on one fantasy football team, if not multiple. I mean, my son is, I think, 3 leagues that I know of. So, I mean, some of you all get super, super serious about this. And the thing about it, and let me make sure I expose my bias. I'm not involved with any. I'm not on a fantasy football team at all. Because for me, it's the losing that seems to be like therapy producing. I have seen folks that I know have to do really embarrassing things because their fantasy football team comes in last, like horribly embarrassing public kind of things. And I just know my luck, and I'll wind up being that bottom team who has to be kind of, out on the Jersey Shore boardwalk in my underwear, holding a sign that says something horrific, and I'm just not interested. I'm too old. I'm not interested in kind of being embarrassed that way. But I know some folks are like, it's fine. I'm going to win. I don't worry about it. Frank is usually the winner in his leagues, or number two. I mean, he's really good at it, my son. He's got it down. Makes a little bit of cash, but he's got it down. Not sure um, if any of you are part of teams like that and are finding yourselves, really risking what coming in last place would be. But I'm so happy though to have football back. It's a great Sundays are great with my wife. When football is on, it's such a good time for us. We just, lounge around on the couch for the afternoon, hold hands and watch games, and it's awesome. Just love that. So, oh my gosh, Mark, good morning. I'm so glad you're here. Yes, I have heard of tattoos needing to be a particular kind of tattoo. Someone I knew had to get a small Tasmanian devil somewhere on his body, and I'm pretty sure it's on his rump. I've never seen it, but he had to get a Tasmanian devil. And these people follow through. I'd be like, no, I'm not doing it. I don't care if I came in last. But you have to operate in integrity, I guess, and you signed up for this league. And so, yeah, little Tasmanian devil on someone's rear end in Maryland. That's as much as I'll say. I won't give his name away. But the other thing I wanted to, again, keep the football things going. Oh, I was going to ask predictions. Who's got the Super Bowl this year? I'm going to go with the Eagles. Should not be a surprise to anybody that I'm going to say Eagles. I think it'd be awesome. Back to back. I think we got this back to back. So that's my prediction for this year. But throw yours in if you're watching this after the fact as well. Please tag your favorite team, who you think is going to win. And maybe you don't think your favorite team is going to win the Super Bowl this year. Maybe you know that they suck. And they'll still be your favorite team because they're the hometown team, but you have your eye on another team to take it all home this year. Who's it going to be? But I also want to spend a little time, and we're going to chat about AI fixing managers, but I want to start with AI, some AI news this week. I'm not sure if everybody got to see Oracle's kind of announcement or their outing. I don't know if they announced it or if it was outed on their behalf, but they have already issued the memos internally that they need to cut 10 to 12% of their workforce by the end of this year. Yesterday, they laid off, I think it was 101 in the Seattle main office. And then there's other online layoffs that are happening, people being invited to a project management meeting and, getting on that call. And it's not project management. It's HR letting them know that today is it. And for some, it is not like, hey, we're going to in 2 weeks, or today is it. And in those 5 minutes while they're on that call, they're cut off from everything. Again, all the things we would expect, right? The email shut down, access from their laptops are being wiped, whatever it is. And that's as quick as things are happening. So they're cutting 10 to 12% of roles by the end of the year. And part of the reason that has been leaked is because of AI related support, things that they are now going to have AI assist with to cut down on some of the duties and responsibilities of some people. So where someone's role might now be handled 20, 25, 30% by AI, they can pick up 20, 25, 30% of another person's work from a capacity standpoint. And so they're taking teams of 10 down to teams of 7, let's say, right? They're doing a 30% reduction there, or 10 to 8, something like that, to make these numbers work, right? To get to 10 to 12% across the board cuts. I'm not saying the whole thing is because of AI. That wasn't what was leaked, but part of the reason is because AI is going to handle some parts of the work being done by humans now. So it's here, right? Like we've got it right in front of us. And I don't know if you're seeing more of this come in terms of companies that you're working for or companies you're working with. Are they starting to look at things from an AI perspective to say, we're going to need to finish 2025 thinner, right, in terms of personnel? Or we're going to need to finish this year thinner because AI is part of it, but the other part is our top line revenue is down. It's down. It's economic recessionary in impact, and it's something that is just budgetary. It's not just AI. It's we can't afford to keep all the people that we're keeping. I think industry-wise, there are absolutely organizations, tech being one of them. Listen, I don't know, again, if you've been following things online, but Google made it through their antitrust, anti-monopoly issues, and so Alphabet stock went up. And on the heels of that, Alphabet is also now can breathe and is pushing out more AI-related support externally and then adopting it internally. They too are making some role cuts within their their huge organization, but role cuts there as well. And so departmentally, you are seeing headcount reductions because of that as well. Their focus was not to mess with things because they needed to keep the right reputation for the court-related issues that they were having, the board-related issues that they were having as far as anti-monopoly. That's over, so they can turn their attention to profitability. And so cutting those roles where AI can do it for a fraction of the price, AI might be able to do it in a fraction of the time. And so we're seeing that, again, sort of jumping off in some of these larger companies like Oracle, like Alphabet. We've seen some of it already, obviously, over the last few months with Microsoft. So, and love this, Dr. V, right? Good morning. They are saying that, but I believe they're over-rotating. What a great comment, right? Like, so what does over-rotation look like? What do you all think? When would we know that it's too much? Not that it just feels like too much, but when would we know that it is moving into too much? What are the metrics that we should be paying attention to? We're talking this morning about AI not being able to fix bad managers, and how would we know that, right? What if AI can handle some first tier components of management, right? What if AI can handle conversations with staff in a more automated, and in some ways, now you all are going to laugh, but in some ways, maybe more human than the manager in place. Listen, some of you work for or have worked for really poor communicating managers, suck it up buttercup kind of managers. And here you might have AI built with a sympathetic, maybe even empathetic perspective to the language it uses. That could be perceived to be much kinder than the manager that they're currently answering to. What do we do then, right? What do we do with when we have better responses from AI, at least tier one management type stuff? Hey, I need this day off, or hey, I'm having a problem with production because of this practical reason. Hey, we don't have enough supply here. Hey, we don't, sort of that telling of process bumps in the road. Not talking about, claims of harassment or something more severe, but maybe tier one kind of triage management. What if AI starts taking over those pieces? It's happening, right? Like AI is being adopted into some of these processes, and if bad managers get put in the spotlight because AI is doing it better than the manager, maybe bye manager, see you manager, I don't need you manager. I'm not fixing you, I'm getting rid of you. I mean, that could kind of be happening, right? So have again, in the comments, I see stuff starting to come. If you're jumping in now, what are you seeing in terms of management, and how AI is being adopted into anything that's management oriented, right? This, can they be fixed with it? I don't think so, but maybe they can be replaced because of it. And while you're throwing some things in, I want to just give you breaking news. Um, Labor market growth slows dramatically. The numbers were just released. In August, the United States added only 54,000 jobs. Only 54,000 jobs. This isn't BLS release. This is ADP release, right? And so I want to make sure I say that as well. But their research, 54,000 jobs. My gosh, Jamie, that was super quick. Thanks for getting that up there. That 54,000 jobs, that is probably influenced in part by AI, in part because of the economy, but again, I'll come back to the first one, in part because of AI. How much work is being done differently than it was even 6 months ago because of this? I love, Mark, thank you for sharing this as well. By the way, if you are going to be, and Mark, make sure you put it in the comments which two SHRM conferences you're speaking at this month, because I want to make sure people know where they can find you and hear you live. Here's Mark, super common at this point, putting his presentations together, running some things through AI to help create those presentations. A fraction of the time. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I have fought with PowerPoint in my past. Like how many times I've wasted hours, right, trying to get this PowerPoint thing to do what I needed to do, or the float in and and then you go and plug in at a conference and the font isn't the same and it's all distorted. I mean, oh my gosh, all that crap. But here you can have AI kind of help you put some of those things together. I think that's a great call out. Seems easy, but this is tier one stuff that I'm talking about. So you've got AI also now moving into tier two in terms of some developmental considerations. So maybe that's the way AI might help to support bad managers. I'm not so sure that companies are going to wait around for that. I think that they're probably going to let those managers go, especially when they're trying to cut headcount. There's bad managers. They'd rather, we all know this, they'll overwork the good manager and say, look, you've got your team humming. We're going to give you two teams now. We're firing so-and-so to give you another team. We'll increase your pay by X in order to take on that second team. But you're really doing the same work. You're just overseeing two teams doing similar work. So it shouldn't be that taxing. And so we'll give you a slight bump, but we've saved X amount of tens of thousands by getting rid of that other manager. I mean, that world is here, right? Aren't you seeing doing more with less? I was on a session with HRCI yesterday, and the opening slide from Culture Amp, who was presenting, said, the one of the bullet points on their opening slide said, "We are in the another time of doing more with less," and totally true. It's completely true, and I don't know how we could avoid that at this point. We've got top line revenue down for a number of organizations. We've got buying power curtailed from organizations. Those of you who are in enterprise related sales, you know what that process is like. It maybe was a 10 to 12 month process. I'm talking to folks 18 to 20 months they're at this point in terms of being able to get that budget buying power locked in. It's really, really difficult, right, to budget for something that used to come in a year that now is going to be 2 years. That's real money that we need now, and you've got a lot of stringent VC and private equity organizations that are not doling out the money like they used to. How do we handle that when you've got people whose livelihood depends on it? You're going to get riffed. These organizations are going to just let you go to unemployment and figure out how you can make ends meet and hope that you find another job. I'm not sure that bad managers are going to be safe. I think those folks are probably one of the first to go, right? And so AI isn't going to help you. It's probably going to out you much more. I think you'll be observed much more as being terrible. Again, love all these thoughts, by the way. So, my gosh. Mark, I want to come back to you, though. Okay, here's what Mark is, everybody. Long Island and New York State, Sherm. Make sure you get there to see Mark. I'm not going to either, though. The 19th, Mark, I'm going to be at HR Tech. I'll be, I'm flying back that day from Vegas. And the 28th, I was actually asked to be a keynote for New York State Sherm, and they decided to go with a different John B. Not this John B, a different John B. And I'm not mad at the other John B. I'm glad he's getting his chance, but almost, buddy. I was almost going to be there at the state conference. Good morning, David. I totally forgot. Thank you for the call out. I am rocking the Aaron mug this morning. Again, full disclosure, I am the fractional CHRO for Aaron, the #1 employee referral platform. Make sure you check out Aaron. For those of you that are looking to change the way that you're doing recruiting, if you're doing recruiting, right, in the context of what we're talking about. So thanks for that shout out, David. I forgot to share that. So if you've had experience in, I'm going to say, fixing bad managers or attempting to fix bad managers, what did you do? What kind of developmental opportunities did you put into place? Was it knowledge base? If so, what kind of books or instructional materials did you use? If it was more about reskilling or upskilling, what were those calls to action in those areas? How did you ensure that happened? What have you used, or what's been used on you in your own management development? What did that look like? For some of you, you never had any management development. You were just thrown into the deep ends of the pool and had to make it work. Cheers to you. That's what happened to me. I did my developmental work years after, right? I went backwards, but I just got thrown into the deep end. And I think, that is the case for I'm sure a decent percentage of people. I don't know if it's the majority, but it's a decent percentage. What had been used on you, or what have you used in management development? Oh, Rachel, I'm trying to catch everybody that's coming through. So good to see you, y'all. Rachel Couples, y'all, come on. You got to connect with Rachel. Just good stuff happening there, Rachel. Make sure people have your LinkedIn connection there. Pop that link right in this chat, please. Totally. I knew Rachel was going to say that. Thrown in when it came to management, right? Get to that deep end and start treading water, making it work. It is difficult, right? For some organizations to know if someone could maybe handle that without throwing them in the deep end. You can do a lot of the prep work, or all the prep work you want, but until they get in the deep end of the pool, you may be in a type of organization where you just don't really know. And one of the things that a simple answer, there's a couple that come to mind, but simple example, I should say, that comes to mind is being a chef in a restaurant. I mean, through my years when I was connected to hospitality, still am, but when I was devoted to hospitality, you would have individuals who could cook beautifully. And then you put them in a kitchen on a busy Friday or Saturday night. The volume was what their Achilles heel was. It wasn't their ability to cook. It was to cook at volume. and time management, right? And so you knew what to spend some time on if you were going to try to see if I could make this work. You knew those were the skills and in some ways, the projects that you had to work on with individuals. Again, I'm giving you a simple example. Think about that now from a management standpoint. What does it look like for someone to move into a supervisory role? What's the litmus test you give? And then how have you helped to develop them? Because if you don't have a plan forward, sometimes people, I think, miss out on what it might look like for them to address those behaviors. No one's really holding them accountable to those things. I'm just existing. I'm doing. What's the issue, right? I'm not being developed, but it feels like I am because I'm busy, right? How about that word? I'm busy, and busy could be the kiss of death. Busy could be the kiss of death for some organizations, right? That busy does not equal I'm good at what I'm doing. I'm developing even more so into the best in this instance in management. Busy is unfortunately used as a substitute for some of those things, and we've given it validity. I think we need to kind of take a look at that as well. AI outs that stuff because busy now it can't be the top line consideration. Busy, AI can do things in a fraction of the time. Now what? Now what? If your expertise is really based on your busyness, uh-oh, right? Now what do we do? I do love, Mark, I'm throwing it. Yep, getting folks to accept their behavior and consequences. 100%. Look, Jeremy Roberts, good morning. Good morning. Loving seeing all these folks jumping in this morning. AI will remove bad managers. There's not a question I don't hear in Jeremy's response. I think there are ways in which AI will show the level of bad management that exists within an organization. I think, as I said, busyness tends to be one of those areas. What are, Jeremy, I wonder, are there other areas that AI is going to expose of these bad managers that'll wind up getting them removed? And again, anybody else with any feedback there as well, please feel free, continue the conversation. But I will say, in case you missed it, we had a slow job growth month in August. We were kind of expecting it. I mean, if you were really kind of looking at the tea leaves, you kind of saw that would be what's coming. So I don't think we have the luxury of sort of, if you're a bad manager, I don't think you have the luxury of sort of hiding out, right? And figuring, oh, well, I've been here this long, I think I'll be okay. Not necessarily. I think that is an absolute easy way to get, your package, whatever that is, a lot sooner than you were expecting, because they just don't have any time for it. They got to do more with less. Organizations have to do more with less. And it also could have to do with the kind of work that you have, right? So can AI handle some pieces of the work you're doing? If you're an in-person kind of role, so let me do distribution. If you are physically involved with the distribution of materials or products across the country, whatever country you're in, there are still components of that AI is not handling. Now, I'm not saying the robots aren't coming. I don't know if you've been seeing some of the online sharing of some of the organizations that are investing millions in robotics built with AI kind of brains. We're getting there. It's getting a little scary. It's getting a little iRobot, but I don't think that's far away. I don't think it's far away. But for now, the physicality of some roles, even at the management level, supervisory level, probably are going to hang out for a bit. I don't think AI can do all that. But those of you that are traditionally more white collar in some of the roles that you have, if it's the tech industry, if it's portions of the medical industry, we're already seeing AI step in on some of those things. If you're in defense contracting, we're seeing the opportunity for AI, and the government's trying to figure out how much they can allow for that to be done by AI. It's not that the work can't be done. It's really the security component of it, right? So it's absolutely worth looking at from an industry standpoint to see the ways in which this next tier, this next wave of AI is going to infiltrate things. And Rachel, such a good call out too. We're not going to see people getting packages of 6 months severance and and benefits covered that whole time. I'm with you, Rachel. I don't think that's what's happening now, right? In some of these layoffs, absolutely don't think that. I think that you've got organizations that are really up against the wall when it comes to their finances, their budgets. And I will also call out small business. I think small business in many ways is really feeling this. They're just not getting the press the same way that larger organizations like an Oracle saying 10 to 12%. That's going to get a lot of press. Jim and Bob's hoagie shop that had 6 people working for them and now has to move to 3 people. That's a 50% reduction. Well, what is that about? Well, their sales are down. We're seeing small businesses cut their hours, especially public-facing ones, right? Like retail, restaurant, those kinds of service industries. They're cutting back on hours. They're not opening at 9 anymore. They're bumping it to 10. They're not staying open until 7 p.m. They're closing at 5. They're adding a day off during the week. That maybe they're not open on Sundays, but now they're saying we're not open on Sundays and Mondays. I just saw. Oh, I love my computer when it does this stuff. Love when it just decides to change things. There's a business locally that now just went Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. They're closed. Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. I don't think that's going to be unusual for some other organizations as well. I think we're going to see more of that as small business tries to make ends meet. So look at those small businesses around you as well. What are you noticing? I think that gives you a great insight into the difficulty that might be happening, even geographically. I think it's tighter in some areas than others. Metropolitan areas, take a look at when these businesses are staying open till. I actually saw 2 of the coffee shops in town here cut their hours. Coffee shops, y'all. Coffee shops. I had 2 conversations with younger folks. And by the way, most people are getting to be younger at this point, way younger. I don't know how that happens. Who talked about the fact that they can't do the Starbucks thing anymore. They can't, they're not buying this Celsius drinks every morning like they used to. They're cutting back to every other or the Monster drink, whatever, because those things are like $6 a can. And they realize that in a month, and they're having one just about every morning, it's a lot of money in 30 days. And so some of these folks, and listen, I'm not saying it doesn't make sense or it's not a good thing. And I would not advise drinking Monster every single morning. I'm pretty sure it's like Drano going through your system, but that's whatever. The idea of though taking a look to say, $6 a week, so let's say 6 days a week, $36 a week on just a drink. I got to cut that in half, right? I can't swing $130 a month, whatever it is. I need to get it down to $60 a month. I'm looking at my expenses and making some decisions. Here at Humoriso this morning, we had a mini chat on our full team's channel about streaming services. With football season that we started talking with, we've got companies that are adding commercials to their streaming services, right? And now you either deal with the regular subscription and now have commercials, or you maybe pay the premium and stay with no commercials, because they've got to make enough revenue as well. And so they're turning back to advertisers. Don't you remember going to streaming because you were like, thank God, no commercials, it's worth paying. And now that's not the case. If you've got regular Amazon Prime, you're watching commercials now as part of your programming, unless you pay the extra $3 a month, or I forget what it is. I think it's $3 a month. To upgrade your Prime subscription so that there's no commercials. It's it's causing some people to say, I don't want the commercials, so I don't want the service. But we also have folks that are saying, I have 5 streaming services that I'm paying for monthly. I can't afford it. I got to cut from 5 to 3. Which ones am I going to cut? And now we've got, Disney Plus and Netflix and a couple of others going even harder after individuals who are sharing, right, their logins and that kind of stuff. And because these companies are trying to make revenue as well. This is the reality, right? So when you talk about your appetite for anything that seems to be a waste of money, and for businesses, that's bad managers. I don't even think they're going to give bad managers the opportunity to be trained either by a trainer in-house, be coached by someone in-house, or say, hey, go on to this AI portal and do some knowledge improvement. I think we're seeing LMS not being used to rescue people, but instead moving people out of the organization. Rachel, thank you for the shout out, right? I don't want to be dismissive. There are folks who can't go from 130 to $60 in Monster drinks. They need to cut it completely, right? Because they've taken either a pay cut, or they're unemployed at the moment, or underemployed at the moment. And so the budget has had to change dramatically. It's hard to go out to eat, y'all. When is the last time any of you have been out to eat, like really out to eat, sit down restaurant? Like, love to know. And were you shocked at the prices? Were you shocked to see how many have added levels of either service fee or forced gratuity? I mean, this is, Jamie with a good shout out. I just see behind the scenes, we're seeing maybe people who are cutting back on DoorDash or Uber Eats or whatever service you've been using, because you've got the upcharge on food. And by the way, if you haven't noticed this, like DoorDash menu of Chili's and regular menu of Chili's, just the base price is different, let alone it's higher, right, with DoorDash. And then they add the service fee, and then you've got the tip, and then you've got this $18 sandwich is $31 by the time it's all said and done. And it's like, I can't pay $31 for an old timer with cheese. It's crazy, right? Like, I have to pull back on some of this. And gosh, I love this season of life consideration. Dr. B, only because my kids are grown and have benefits, right? Can I go out to eat, right? Like, my budget in-house has changed now. I was spending X with 4 people. It's down to 1 or 2 people. And so I can go out to eat because I've been able to carve out some of that money that I didn't have before. Great call out. And Jeremy, not shocked by the prices, because finally just my wife and I, down from a family of 5. So everything seems cheap, right? That context makes a big difference. I am cheap by nature. Anybody who knows me, I'm cheap by nature. I'm sorry. I am. I'm cheap by nature. I'll say it again because I don't want anyone to accuse me of not being as self-aware. I am super self-aware. I am cheap by nature. Now, part of that is because growing up, and still, I have family in all kinds of industries, in all kinds of places. So I get like the hookup. I've gotten the hookup a lot. And so I'm always used to paying less than retail, right? If there's any Abbott Elementary folks, Melissa Chimenti, one of the teachers, Italian, from Philly, right? That's the character she plays. And she's, got a cousin who's doing this and he's going to send over this and that. That's yes. That's not an exaggeration. That is actually how it works. And so I I get the hookup on a lot of things. So the thought of spending on things, and Jamie, our executive producer who's on, he knows he I struggle, and I think I'm right most times, um, but I struggle with how much stuff costs. It's crazy how much technology can cost. I think it's outrageous, but it is um, it is the reality. And if you are down on the volume of top line revenue, you're going to double down on those that are at that top line customer client basis and up the prices there in order to keep the company afloat. And I don't care if you're, you know, Johnny's hot dog stand or if you are, Amazon. You're going to figure out ways to bump that pricing in order to counterbalance the liabilities you have to pay for. If that is the depth of conversation that we're having practically, you have to know that bad managers aren't going to be given that much grace, right? And honestly, I don't know if they should as well. Look at this. Good morning, Josh. I'm ready to install tipping in my phone interviews. If they do it at stadiums or fast food places, so can I. I mean, every time I put my credit card in a machine, I just had to use it at Publix, and Publix wants me to not tipping, but like answer something before, like, let me just pay for things. Now I got tipping at the airport. I waited in this line to get a sandwich, and everything that we used to be counter service, no tip. Now everybody has that as part of your checkout. Good morning, Jess. Lord, look at this one. We've got to do something with these kids. Who is raising them with this taste? Who is raising them? Jess is going to kill me. Lobster, roy oysters. Oh my gosh. And uni. I don't even like sushi now. It's fine. But I wouldn't even know what it was when I was a kid. Listen, it was a huge treat when I was a kid when we got McDonald's. It was a huge treat. That Big Mac and fries, oh my gosh, was everything. It was Friday night and Dad had a good week at work, and we went through the drive-through, got McDonald's or counter service because we didn't always have two cars, and counter service and brought home the McDonald's, and it was like, oh my gosh, this is awesome. Now, like my kids too, they're like, McDonald's, that's no treat, right? That's not. They want the same thing, Jess. Like they want the like fine dining thing. I'm not so sure how long that can continue for some budgets. We've got folks who are displaced from their job because of either AI or that top line revenue being just down because of the economy. We also have folks that are, and I wonder how many of you are seeing this, Josh. I would love to hear from you from a recruiting standpoint. Jeremy, I know you're here. Anybody from the Rachel, from the recruiting standpoint, again, I'm sorry if I'm leaving you out, anybody, but just from a recruiting standpoint, I'm noticing people who have been making X, right? Maybe weren't terrific at their job, were let go. And now they're trying to find jobs that are at that X level of compensation. And the role is advertised that they're applying to. I'm not talking about out of compliance. The role is advertised with the salary range. And so these individuals are applying. And when they get the phone screen, they're saying, I notice that the range is X to X, but I'm looking for more than that because I was last making whatever. And so I know I'm worth it. I know that, and the companies that they're reaching out to is saying the range is the range that's advertised. I can't, and effectively the company is saying, I'm not going to be responsible for you being overpaid wherever you were. This is the range we can afford. And quite frankly, there are more candidates available today than there was a year ago. And so if you can't make that range work for you, you're either going to have to A, move on, or B, adjust your range. And so we're seeing compensation, those of you who rely on the Mercer survey, or you've got your subscription with salary.com, or whatever platforms you're using, we're going to see numbers coming down. We're going to see numbers coming down. They already are for some roles. They already are in comp analytics. So I'd pay attention to those things, right? Because the reality is the extension in the market of candidates is going to drive down some of the pricing. Jamie, it's a matter of time before AI starts asking for a tip. Let me tell you something. I can believe that. For sure. Josh, thank you. For many, it's not that they're being let go for their performance, but rather the company overemployed. Amazon is a great example. Thank you for calling that out. And executives never adjusted for it, right? There's leadership failure there. I think we overhired. I think some of it is still, believe it or not, we're still a few years into all the money that was pumped in, right, post-COVID, and companies are catching up. I think some thought the economics of things were going to continue to advance over the last 20 months or so. They're pretty flat. And so, it's not working out the way that they had hoped. Jeremy's just saying it. And I think I agree. The comp expectations, especially for leadership, should be lowered from your last role. No questions asked. Woo! My man with the truth bomb. I totally agree with you, Jeremy. I think there are, I'm not saying all roles, I'd be foolish to say that, but a lot more than you may think need to readjust comp. Do your own research. See what jobs that you are interested in that are even like the job you last had. I know you might be going for something more advanced, but the job you last had, what are those roles going for right now? Is it down about 5%, let's say, from where you were? You may have to own the fact that it's 8% lower than where you might have been last. I think that's a good call out. Rachel, the cost to us, AI will go up. Listen, you've got these AI platforms that are pushing some things out for free right now. A lot of it. And listen, that's going to become the streaming service of the future, where we got all this stuff for free through Amazon Prime. And now, everything costs. Everything that used to be included with Amazon Prime costs. It used to be guaranteed 2 days, not no more, right? It might be, but it might not be. Amazon Prime might be 4 days. And nobody's apologizing. You can write a review all you want. It's not going to change anything, right? We've changed that expectation, and I think that more of that is coming. The cost of living is an absolute reality, and I think that we've got to work better with our expectations on that. Listen, if AI can handle some components of work, some duties and responsibilities of some roles now, it shouldn't surprise us that what you might be expecting in compensation is going to adjust accordingly. I love this too, Jeremy. It's not about what you think you're worth. It's about what the companies are willing to pay, and if you're actually better than others who will accept that number. Because budget, I would say we have returned to a budget stringent market. It is much harder in organizations to get flex on budget. It is much harder. And I know all of us who aren't in finance want to hate on the finance people. We need someone to hold tight steering wheel to keep us on course. Because some of us deal with hiring managers that are like, I know this is the person, I want to hire this person. We just need to give them 10 grand more than what's currently advertised. And you have finance folks saying, we will not do that. This is the top of the range. If you can't make it work within this range, then move on from that candidate, because it's not going to happen. And there will be someone who is willing to take that range. It's just the truth. It's just the truth. Mike Wood. Good morning, Mike. Good to see you, buddy. This country is turning into Spirit Airlines. You got to pay for everything. You want to breathe the air that's actually in this aircraft? That's another $10. Like it's, there's an emergency and the oxygen mask drops. Sorry, even though we're having an emergency, if you want the oxygen to actually start flowing in that mask, you've got to deposit $5 or use the QR code to Venmo the $5 in advance of any potential emergency that may come. I mean, we are almost there. And Jamie, like, this needs to be a t-shirt. Mike Wood, that might be the line. You need to put your weekly newsletter of the activity of the week. Let this be your headline, buddy. Let this be the headline. And by the way, if you all are not following Mike Wood, please get on LinkedIn and look him up. Mike, put your link in here so that people would do this as well. The fact that the budgetary restraints that are in place are not going to flex very much, I think is going to drive even more so the microscope on management. Even more so. I think you've got managers who are going to not be able to hide the way that they used to. And I'm curious, like, how many of you have seen bad managers go in the last 10 to 12 months? I honestly can count on both hands, off the top of my head, how many managers that were mediocre at best, companies have just run the course with and said, that's it. Nah, we're done. Nope, we're done. And are trying to do more with less. They want to run with those that are a better either fit or better worker, and have better results than these mediocre managers. And yeah, you need some help. You want to add this AI transcription tool on all of your meetings to help save you some time while you now oversee 2 teams. Sure, pennies on the dollar compared to keeping that other manager. No problem. You want this kind of resource tool? We might be able to make that work up to a certain amount in order to help you do this basically the job of 2 people. Sure, happy to do that, because the cost savings are still there. The absolute consideration from a bias standpoint, and again, Dr. V, thanks for bringing this up. We also have to be thoughtful about to whom we ascribe bad managers, right? Do we see that there's a bias either in race or gender or age, right? And I think age might be one of those areas that we forget about. But you know, those that are now all of a sudden bad managers might just be older, more seasoned in our companies, and therefore at a higher price point. And so we're getting rid of those bad managers, really to save the largest amount of money, right? Is that really what's happening? I almost get why you're trying to like cut in that regard, but we need to be thoughtful about anything that might be discriminatory in practice, right? The idea of AI being able to jump in and cover some of these things is doable, but the other thing is also needs to be programmable, right? If that's the right word. But what I mean is AI is learning the whole time, but where are those input components coming from? If you have bad managers that are trying to use AI tools and inputting bad work practices, AI is going to learn from that, and it might react accordingly to that. That's going to very easily out some ineffective managers as well when the next tier up is looking to say, what is this? Why is this coming out the way that it is? And if it's input oriented to a bad manager who has bad practices, not going to be able to hide from that. That is going to be seen quickly. And again, I don't know how much grace you're going to be given in that regard. It is not going to be that AI, gets a finger wagging. It's going to be that the person who was involved in some of the input or influence to that AI, is going to be the one that gets that. My gosh, Jamie. Yep. Try managing AI. Try giving it a pip. Like, that's not what's going to happen. That's not what's going to happen at all. It's crazy to me that we aren't as thoughtful as we should be about the AI mechanic in this, right? AI is still a tool. AI is still a tool. It isn't the same as a manager. However, if there are things that it can do as good, if not better than a manager, then I think bad managers that are heavily tactical are going to have a hard time. I think this is where management is really going to be pushed. Those that are ready for the challenge, pushed in some of those transformative considerations. How do they develop others? How do they innovate process? How do they recommend expansion and growth in either cost savings or revenue producing ways? I think those are going to be the folks that rise to the top. I don't know if you all agree, but I think those are going to be the folks that rise to the top pretty quickly. And the ones that don't are at risk of being on the chopping block for sure. For sure. So this whole AI thing is fascinating, right? It's not going anywhere. I would be curious. Anybody use AI? I'm coming full circle. Anybody use AI to ask? I guess you could do it now. Maybe Jamie, you could do it on the back end. Who AI thinks is going to win the Super Bowl this year? What, based on those facts? And make sure, Jamie, if you're doing it, make sure you tell us what platform. Which, if it's Copilot or if it's ChatGPT, I don't know, whichever one you're jumping on real quick. But the rest of you, I wonder if you've put any of your predictions in, or if you put the whole schedule in for the NFL regular season, and it's given you its prediction for winners based upon all the details of the teams. And I wonder if anybody's going to like bet Vegas each week based on exactly what AI spits out. That would be really interesting. That would be really interesting to see how right it is by the end of the regular season. All right, we are wrapping up in 2 minutes, but I am going to have Jamie jump on.
I'm only coming on real quick because this is hysterical. You asked me to do Super Bowl predictions for Cursor. Super Bowl predictions with AI. I'm using Cursor, which is an AI bot for coding because I'm working on some code right now.
Oh, okay.
And the funny part is it told me to get back to work. And I thought that was relevant for this topic and hysterical.
That is literally what it typed back to you.
I'll put a screenshot because I really just quickly asked a Super Bowl prediction. And it basically says, I understand you're asking about Super Bowl predictions, but I'm an AI coding bot specifically tasked to do X, Y, Z. And I'm like, I can't even manage AI right now myself.
And let me tell you something. The funny thing about that is, especially as we talk about bad managers, look at AI maybe being a better manager when it comes to staying on task than a manager might be who's like, yeah, let's take 20 minutes and talk about who should win, who's going to win the Super Bowl or who's going to. I mean, if you're in finance, you're like, heck yeah, I want that AI guy to keep everybody on task, right? Josh Rock, thank you, buddy. Josh went to Gemini. Gemini says no way to know. I wonder if part of it isn't pre-programmed so that it doesn't do that. I don't know if AI is allowed to do those kinds of predictions.
Sometimes I think it knows its audience and it just doesn't want to let them down. I'm a Jets fan. It's never going to say the Jets are going to win because that's the fact.
I mean, that's the fact. That is the fact. Did you ask Copilot, though? Do you have Copilot open?
I could open it. I have ChatGPT 5, which again,
that's fine.
ChatGPT. I'll ChatGPT 5, sure.
Let's just see who it says. By the way, tons of comments Ooh, Josh. It gave 4 teams to watch for the Stanley Cup. Okay, 4. It narrowed it at least for you. What do we got on ChatGPT?
So it actually is sourcing. It's not actually doing a prediction itself. It's pulling FanDuel, ESPN futures, Opta supercomputer, and it also referenced things like New York Post's crystal ball. It's got the Ravens, the Bills. LA's got a 5% chance.
Look at
Chance.
Laura.
Ravens
Laura did
over
the same
Eagles.
thing.
Yep.
Look, I love that. Yeah, because it's looking at what has already been pushed out by some of these other platforms that have done the research. So,
and I will end with this because I know we have to run. I have trained Cursor in this AI coding thing to not make assumptions for me. And again, you could do this thing with things like ChatGPT and others to think how you want it to think, act like you want it to act, speak like you want it to speak. And I have spent a considerable amount of time, no assumptions, cite facts, et cetera, et cetera. And here I am managing AI just like it is another employee.
yep.
And that's the case.
That is the case. And I think if, again, when we're specifically here talking about bad managers, that tier up, a director is treating managers like an employee. And so if that employee is better done through AI than it is by the actual manager because the manager has, is bad. See you, bad manager. Bye-bye.
That's it.
Y'all, I told you we were going to have a packed 60 minutes. That again, and even without Jackye, it was a fast 60 minutes because normally with her, it's like super fast. Make sure that you like and subscribe, please. By the way, we want to make sure that we give a shout out to Work Defined. We have that happening as well. So you'll be able to listen to us as well as a podcast after the fact on the Work Defined network. So thank you, everybody. And we will keep you updated on next week with the planned return of Jackye Clayton. Otherwise, enjoy the rest of your week. Happy betting in Vegas. And I will see you all soon. Take care.